जय राधा माधव कुंज बिहारी गोपीजन वल्लभ गिरिवरधारी जय राधा माधव कुंज बिहारी गोपीजन वल्लभ गिरिवरधारी यशोदानंदना ब्रज जनरंजना यशोदा यमुना तीरावनचारी यमुना तीरावनचारी जय राधा माधव कुंज बिहारी गोपीजन वल्लभ गिरिवरधारी गोपीजन वल्लभ गिरिवरधारी यशोदानंदना जग जनरंजना यशोदा यमुना तीरावनचारी यमुना तीरा हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 राम हरे राम 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 हरे हरे Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Ram, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Ram, Ram Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Ram, Ram Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Ram, Ram Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Ram, Ram Hare Hare. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Gopi Jana Vallabha Giri Varadhari. Madhava Kunja Bihari. Gopi Jana Vallabha Giri Varadhari. एवं विष्णुपाद परमहंस परिव्रजाकाचार्य अष्टोत्तर सदस्य श्रीमद अभय चरणारविंद भक्ति वेदांत स्वामी श्रील प्रभुपाद की जय. जय ओम विष्णुपाद परमहंस परिव्रजाकाचार्य अष्टोत्तर सदस्य श्रीमद भक्ति सिद्धांत सरस्वती गोस्वामी महाराज श्रील प्रभुपाद की जय. अनंत कोटि वैष्णव वृंद की जय. नामाचार्य श्री हरिदास ठाकुर की जय. प्रेम से कहो श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंदा श्री अद्वैत गदाधारा श्रीवासादि गौरभक्त वृंद की जय. श्री श्री राधा कृष्ण गोप गोपीनाथ श्याम कुंड राधा कुंड गिरि गोवर्धन की जय. ब्रजभूमि श्री वृंदावन धाम की जय. मायापुर श्री नवद्वीप धाम की जय. मथुरा धाम की जय. द्वारका धाम की जय. जगन्नाथपुरी धाम की जय. गंगा माई की जय. यमुना माई की जय. भक्ति देवी की जय. तुलसी महारानी की जय. समवेत गौर भक्त वृंद की जय. गौर भक्त प्रेमानंदे हरि हरि बोल. All glories to the assembled devotees, Hare Krishna. All glories to the assembled devotees, Hare Krishna. All glories to the assembled devotees, Hare Krishna. All glories, all glories, all glories to Sri Guru and Sri Gauranga. Jai Srila Prabhupada. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Narayanam Namaskritya Naram Chaiva Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayamudiraye Nashtaprayeshu Abhadreshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavati Uttama Shloke Bhaktir Bhavati Naishtaki. Om Tat Sat. So Hare Krishna devotees, welcome for today morning ISKCON Seshadripuram Srimad Bhagavatam class. Today we will be discussing a third canto, 24th chapter and verse number 17. Let me pull up the verse. So canto 3, 24th chapter and verse number 17. The chapter is entitled The Renunciation of Kardama Muni. And in that verse number 17. I share the screen. Okay. So I'll read the verse. Jnana Vijnana Yogena Karmanam Karmanam Udaram Jataha Hiranya Keshaha Padmakshaha Padma Mudra Padambujaha Jnana Vijnana Yogena Karmanam Udaram Jataha Hiranya Keshaha Padmakshaha Padma Mudra Padambujaha Jnana Vijnana Yogena Karmanam Udharam Jataha Hiranya Keshaha Padmakshaha Padma Mudra Padambujaha. Jnana of scriptural knowledge, Vijnana and application, Yogena by means of mystic yoga, Karmanam of material actions, Uddaran, uprooting, Jataha, the roots, Hiranyakeshaha, golden hair, Padma Akshaha, lotus-eyed, Padma Mudra, marked with the sign of the lotus, Padambujaha, having lotus feet. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. By mystic yoga and practical application of knowledge, practical application of knowledge from the scriptures, Kapila Muni, who is characterized by his golden hair, his eyes just like lotus petals, and his lotus feet, which bear the marks of lotus flowers, will uproot the deep-rooted desire for work in this material world. Purport. In this verse, the activities and bodily features of Kapila Muni are very nicely described. The activities of Kapila Muni are forecast herein. He will present the philosophy of Sankhya in such a way that by studying his philosophy, people will be able to uproot the deep-rooted desire for karma, fruitive activities. Everyone in this material world engages in achieving the fruits of his labor. A man tries to be happy by achieving the fruits of his own honest labor, but actually he becomes more and more entangled. One cannot get out of this entanglement unless he has perfect knowledge or devotional service. Those who are trying to get out of the entanglement by speculation are also doing their best. But in the Vedic scriptures, we find that if one has taken to the devotional service to the Lord in Krishna consciousness, he can very easily uproot the deep-rooted desire for fruitive activities. Sankhya philosophy will be broadcast by Kapila Muni for that purpose. His bodily features are also described herein. Jnana does not refer to ordinary research work. Jnana entails receiving knowledge from the scriptures through the spiritual master by disciplic succession. In the modern age, there is a tendency to do research by mental speculation and concoction. But the man who speculates forgets that he himself is subject to the 4 defects of nature. He is sure to commit mistakes. His senses are imperfect. He is sure to fall into illusion, and he's cheating. Unless one has perfect knowledge from the disciplic succession, he simply puts forth some theories of his own creation. Therefore, He is cheating people. Jnana means knowledge received through disciplic succession from the scriptures, and Vijnana means practical application of such knowledge. Kapila Muni's Sankhya system of philosophy is based on Jnana and Vijnana. Om Agyana Timirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunnitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Shri Chaitanya Manobishtam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kada Mahyam Dadanti Swapadantikam. Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yuta Padakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagra Jatam Sahagana Raghunathan Vitam Tamsa Jivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Pada Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakan Vitamshya. He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dina Bandhu Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrinda Vaneshwari Rishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Vancha Kalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhu Bhayevacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha. Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Preshtaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swami Nitinamine Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvisesa Sunyavadi Paschatya Desha Tarine Jaya Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shri Vasadi Gauravakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Srimate Jayapatana Swami Nitinamine Acharya Padaya Nitai Kripa Pradayine Gaurakatha Damataya Nagara Grama Tarine. By mystic yoga and the practical application of knowledge from the scriptures, Kapila Muni, who is characterized by his golden hair, his eyes just like lotus petals, and his lotus feet, which bear the mark of lotus flower, will uproot the deep-rooted desire for work in this material world. So here we are discussing about Kardama Muni and Devahuti. And there's a lot of discussions over months. I think this would have been happening, that the life and pastimes of Kapila Muni and the life and pastimes of Kardama Muni and Devahuti. And after having many girl children, then they are actually Devahuti was lamenting that I will be missing the association of this great wonderful husband and devotee who will now go away. I did not take advantage when he was there with me, but now that he is going to go away from me, at that time I am realizing like this, that I wasted my lifetime, 100 years by enjoying material life like that. Then I think she asks for a some kind of a support, and then Kardama Muni then agrees to give her a boy child who will take her to salvation, kind of a thing. Therefore, at that point in time, I think they have the what do you call the privilege of meeting up with Narada Muni and many other his sons. Many of them come, Brahma, Narada Muni, and the sons of Brahma, all of them come there. And at that time, it is being predicted here. Actually, Brahmaji is speaking, and then he's saying, you will have a son who will actually have, who will be called Kapila Dev, and he will be an incarnation of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And he's already giving the description of how Kapila Muni will be. So this is something which we need to understand. When the Lord appears, it is not like, it's just something happens just like that, and nobody really understands or knows that, the Lord has come. Because the Lord is the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who's Jagannatha, the king of all the universal planetary systems across the globe. If you just, sometimes when you are seeing the dark night in cities, we don't get to see. But, in a village or somewhere, if you go and you look up, you'll be surprised at the millions and trillions of stars that we can see only from Earth. It is like like rice is thrown all over the place, like on the sky. It's like so bright, many millions of dots of uh, uh, bodies we can see in the sky. Just that is just seeing from here. If you just therefore if you see how much of planetary systems are there, how many places of residences are there, and all over these places there are so many so many living entities. And this supreme personality of Godhead is actually the creator and the enjoyer and the destroyer of all of these planetary systems. Means we should understand the magnanimity of his position. It is not like, okay, some Tom, Dick and Harry who just comes, once in a while, so insignificant. No. So when the Lord comes, it is not going to be like, any. It's not like some ant is coming or something like that. Therefore, it is all everything is very beautifully laid out, right? The appearance of the Lord, just simply even the MLAs and MPs come to a particular place. There is so much of preparations made. But if the Supreme Lord is coming, it's not going to be so very simple. So it's all clearly documented. It is all described, everything, how the Lord will look like, what will be his, how he is going to, where he is going to be taking birth, and who is going to be his mother, father, and so many other details will be given, and what all he will be performing. All these activities he will be performing. These are all already understood. And Brahma is actually narrating that you're going to have a son who's none other than the supreme personality of Godhead, and then he's going to have this the hair which is like golden in color, and his eyes will be like lotus, and he will have the mark of the lotus in his lotus feet. And these are the descriptions that are given. And what he will do is also given here, that he will be propagating the Sankhya philosophy. So this is the most important thing. In Bhagavad Gita also we have read in the second chapter that the Sankhya philosophy is actually explaining everything in a logical manner. So there is also this imposter Kapila Muni. So many people, when the minute you say Sankhya philosophy, then there many people will immediately take to that imposter Kapila Dev, who was more materialistic. So he was looking at everything from a materialistic point of view and giving his own concocted commentary on what is Sankhya. But the original Sankhya philosophy was delivered by Kapila Muni, and that is very clearly there in Srimad Bhagavatam. And what is that Sankhya philosophy? Something which Prabhupada expounds very nicely. He's saying that this is Jnanam Vijnanam. That is the word at which this word starts. This Jnana Vijnana Yogena. Now we also see this in Bhagavad Gita in the 9th chapter. If you see which is basically called the most confidential knowledge. And in that, the Lord is saying the very first verse, Shri Bhagavan Uvacha Idam tu te guhyatamam pravakshyami anusuyave jnana vijnana sahitam yajnatva mokshase shubhat. So the Supreme Personality of Godhead said, my dear Arjuna, because you are never envious of me, I shall impart to you this most confidential knowledge and realization, knowing which you shall be relieved of the miseries of material existence. Now you can relate very nicely between what Krishna is saying in Bhagavad Gita and what Kapila Muni is actually trying to do. No difference, right? The Supreme Personality of Godhead actually delivers the original same message. It is not like some concocted thing that, I will keep changing the matter. No, the original truth is always the same. According to the time and places, maybe the examples may change, but the original truth is always the same. Therefore, it's not like when Bhagavad Gita was spoken 5,000 years back, or so many millions of years back when he spoke it to Vivaswan. That doesn't mean, therefore, no, today context, things have changed, sir. Today it's a different modern age, electronic age, or I don't know, digital age, all that we can say. But the matter remains the same. There is nothing different from what is originally told. That we are actually messed up with our original position, and we have actually fallen down into this material world. This is the real truth. And then now we are suffering in this material world, in this place of Ashashvatam Dukkhalayam. And the idea is how to get out of this place and go back to our original constitutional position which is in the spiritual world. This science does not change whatever be the what do you call more fallen condition. Kali is supposed to be more fallen condition, but we are thinking this is more advanced period of time. So that's something which we need to really understand. And here he is very beautifully saying, right, that this knowledge, jnanam and vijnanam, this knowledge is not simple, what do you call, bookish knowledge. It is vijnana sahitam. That means the knowledge which is basically realized. So that is what here is also being mentioned. This mystic yoga and the practical application of knowledge from the scriptures. So this is the same thing, that practical knowledge, the knowledge and also the application of that knowledge from where? From the scriptures. And that he will teach how to apply that in the material world. And by doing that, what happens is, it will uproot the deep-rooted desire for work in this material world, because that is the one which is actually binding us to this ashashvatam dukkhalayam, right? If you see why we are again and again coming to this material world, there is this beautiful story of the elder of the Pandavas, right? He will Yudhishthir. So he will actually be at a place where his son, his brothers and all will be like, sort of unconscious or whatever. And then I think he meets up with Yamaraj. And then Yamaraj asks him a question. I will, Yamaraj are one of the, okay. So he will be asking this question, what do you think is the most, Yaksha, my wife pronounced that it is one of the Yakshas. So he will be asking this question, what is the most amazing thing in this material world? So if you can kindly answer this question like that, then at that point in time, Yudhishthira Maharaj will say, see, the most astonishing thing in this material world is that everybody is thinking, everybody else is dying, but then they will not die, right? That they are here to permanently enjoy this material world. Even though they are seeing so many people dying, but then he thinks he's going to be there permanently enjoying whatever he's experiencing in this material world. So this is something which is amazing. That is happening right from the ant to the, to Brahma. That is happening, that people are thinking they are here to enjoy, and they are not, they are completely ignorant. They means including me. We are completely ignorant of when is my time coming, what I'm going to, what is the purpose of my existence? I'm simply enjoying life day after day, day after day, day after day, day after day. We're enjoying this. So this is there. But this is what keeps us binding to this material world. That means, we keep on living here, enjoying the different fruits of our action. They are actually, Prabhupada also writes it, very sincere and sincere labor, that not trying to even forget people who are trying to cheat and enjoy life, but people who are sincerely trying to do their work very nicely, and then whatever labor which from that labor, whatever comes the gains, they want to enjoy this. So this is what is wrong with that. But the problem, what is wrong with that is, in the course of that, this body is actually deteriorating, and we are actually having to give up this body at some point in time, and therefore we may have to come back again to take another birth here. So this is the biggest danger that we don't seem to be understanding. The point is, as long as I continue to exist in this material world, then I need to have a body, and that body is actually having so many limitations. Even though the bodies are all very wonderful, there's nothing short in the Lord's creation, but still we are in inconvenience because we are restraining ourselves to a small body, be it the size of the ant or be the size of an elephant or a whale, but still it is limited, and it is actually got these problems. So now, having said that, the idea is to get the real knowledge, stop this material engagement. Even though we cannot stop engagement per se, the knack of how to engage without getting karma is the most important thing. And that is what the original Kapila Muni, he will be teaching this world through his Sankhya philosophy. And Prabhupada writes beautifully, those who are trying to get out of the entanglement by speculation are also doing their best. But in the Vedic scripture, we find that if one takes devotional service of the Lord in Krishna consciousness, he can very easily uproot the deep-rooted desire for fruitive activities. So this is something which we need to ponder upon. If you really see, there are millions and trillions of people who are also spiritually inclined, who are also trying to get to that same solution of liberation through various methods other than devotional service to the Supreme Personality of God. And many of them say, oh, this is, oneness, everything is one and we are also part of that oneness. And then I will try to keep myself away from these karmic activities, but without having any specific devotion to the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And they say, at the end of it, I will become realized and then, I will flow into the oneness. And they always give this example of, just like various drops of water, they are all in these various lakes and or maybe in those rivers. But somehow they find their way when the rain comes, they find their way to start flowing towards that ocean, right? So all these drops of waters in various places, they somehow, they are able to move towards the ocean. And then once it gets into the ocean, then that they go and mix with the ocean. That means the ocean is considered the big oneness. And then everything is actually directed to all water bodies. They are actually having an inclination to go towards this oneness. And then they go to this ocean and merge into the ocean, and they became like one with the ocean. That means one with the whole. That is their logic. But Prabhupada also explains, yeah, that is fine. That is true. You just go into that, you flow and then go and merge with that ocean, and then there is no identity of whether it is river or ocean. Everything is the same. Everything stays the same inside there, which is true. Which we also agree. Like we are also part and parcel of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. We are also having the same qualities of that of the Personality of Godhead. But the problem there is, again, you get evaporated, right? Again, you get evaporated. And then you go back you go to the, what do you call, the sky, and you remain there as cloud. And from there, again, you have to come down to this material world as a water droplet and fall somewhere into the land. And then again, you have to struggle all the way to get back into that oneness. So this concept of merging with the oneness or merging with the body of the Supreme Personality of Godhead in a speculative manner is actually very, very dangerous. That, we may still, even though you think you have merged into the impersonal Brahman of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, there is a point in time where we may have to again fall back into this material world and again go through this process of birth, death, old age, disease, again struggle, find the way, again speculate, find and get into the river, and from there, the river, we flow back into this. So this cycle is going on. So the idea is how to come to this point of surrender, come to this point of bhakti or devotional service to the Supreme Personality of Godhead, because that's a very easy way in which this can be approached. Then further, it is also mentioned, Jnana entitles receiving knowledge from the scripture through the spiritual master by disciplic succession. In the modern age, there is a tendency to do research by mental speculation and concoction. But a man who speculates forgets that he himself is subject to the 4 defects of nature. So, by this mental speculation, something which is not perfect cannot create something which is perfect, right? That is very basic logic. Like, if anyone wants X amount of money from me or from anyone, the basic criteria is that person should have it. If he doesn't have it, then how can he give? So if you ask for, let's say, give me a lakh of rupee, and I personally have only 99,999, then how can I give you a lakh of rupees? I can only give you 99,999. So maximum I can give you only that much. Like this, if I am not perfect, then how can I give perfect knowledge? This is very basic common sense thing, right? But then people are trying to think, I am not perfect, but I will concoct to find the perfect solution to this thing. So in material world, a good example is this iPhone. I am at least made to believe, looking at Google and all that, iPhone is supposed to be one of the what do you call, perfect in terms of the like, they say, right, if you make a product, if the product fails, or if the product has any defects, then there's a measure of this in the industrial world. And they say this iPhone is more closer to perfection in terms of its creation. That means, there's no defect in the manufacture of that iPhone. It's not like it's there no defect. The percentage is around 99 point something. That's what I have heard. I don't know if it has changed now. Sometime back, whatever I saw this. So there it cannot be 100%. It can be maybe 99% or whatever. But still, there is this 1% chance that this is defective. Therefore, how can I produce something which is perfect when I myself have defects? The 4 defects is what Prabhupada is reminding us of. It is saying the first one is the defect to commit mistakes. To err is human, they say, right, in English. To err is human. That means it is an accepted and it's an official statement. To err is human. So anybody who makes a mistake, it is natural. It is not like, oh, how can he make a mistake? In fact, from management and all, in so many ways, they say, your failures are your road to your success. Those kind of things they say. Like the more you fail, the better you are having knowledge. That means you know what all to avoid in life, because you have had the experience of a failure. But at the end of the day, there are millions of other ways to fail, right? When we try to do something, I may fail in 10 ways and then say, oh, you are wiser by 10 ways. But there are another 10 million ways in which I can fail, Baba. So be mindful of that. While I understand and I appreciate that word from to that, it is actually wise when you fail, you gain experience, all that is fantastic. But when you are trying to get to the perfect knowledge, you cannot keep on speculating like this and spending millions and millions of life. That is very important. Then the propensities are there. Then what is the second one is his senses are imperfect. That means with an imperfect sense, how can you understand the perfection? Like, for example, the eyes, while it is all so very nice and beautiful and powerful, whatever, but still it cannot see in the dark. So that is, then therefore the eye's purpose is to see. But if you can't see in a given situation, then what is the point of that eye, or how perfect is that eye, right? Even they say some animals, like, the lions and all can see much clearer in the dark, while humans' eyes cannot see. Then, okay, we will create a microscope or some projecting object which can actually see better. But you are creating that with your imperfect senses. So how best it will be? It will also have its limitations. It can go a little further, but then it will also, therefore they are not able to see the soul, right? They are trying to see the soul is not there. Their conclusion, therefore, is there is nothing called soul, because they are not able to see it with whatever objects they have. Because the soul size is also given, right? 100,000 the size of the tip of the hair, it has been given. But we don't have a instrument which can actually zoom into that level. Therefore, we are not able to see the soul. Therefore, we conclude there's no soul, right? Today's conclusion is there's nothing called soul from a scientific perspective. So this is like, cheating, because we don't know, but we are saying there's no soul. How can you say that? They say it is some energy, something else is inside the body, but it is simply a chemical combination, everything, but there is no soul. This is cheating, because there is something called a soul, but you are denying the existing of the soul, and then you are saying this is actually science. And there is also this propensity to cheating. That is one of the defects. And then we can fall into illusion. Illusion means something may be there, but we may think it is something else. Just like, we see this common example is that mirage. When you see a mirage, suddenly when you're driving on the road, suddenly you will see there's a big water body on the road, particularly in the summertime when you're driving on the highway. But actually there is no water body there. It is just that we are having an illusion in our head that there is a water body there. As you get closer, you will find it is hot tar road actually. So this is the propensity to get illusioned is there as in the human form. Therefore, or for that matter, it is there for any form. And therefore, when you have these 4 defects, then how is it that I can actually get this knowledge? Therefore, there is no way one can actually find his own way out of this material mess, of this material world. We can try, though. Nobody stops us from trying, and we have been trying, right? We don't need to be how much ever we are discouraged, we don't care. No. I know all this is fine, sir, but I will figure out my own way. This is the way we all think. And therefore, we keep on speculating, and in the process, we end up facing the Lord in the form of death, right? I may not accept Krishna. I may think so many things. Oh, this is that is that, God is this, that power is this power is this. But Krishna says, he says, I am death personified. So finally, we may have to meet and accept Krishna in the form of death, whether we like it or not. Now, therefore, see, there are two things. Material knowledge can be understood through this research work, through the process of learning in a material, whatever established way that we know of. But that is not perfect, and we are okay with that, because that is how the whole principle is. Just like I said, till it is proven in material world, we accept that is correct, right? Till it is proven wrong. Many theories like that, right? Many of the scientific theories that have developed today, till they are proven wrong, we accept that is science. So we go on in that process. Then someone else proves that wrong and brings in something else, then we accept that as the latest scientific method. And then we keep on going in that direction, and someone comes and proves that is wrong. Or there is something higher than that. Maybe not wrong, but there is something higher than that. But we are looking at a superficial or a lower level of thing. Then everybody jumps into that and says, this is science today. We are seeing this, right? Happening everywhere. One example is like, they, in those olden days, they will say when you have a burn injury, the medical science was that you should not pour water on that thing. If someone by mistake, when there is a burn happens and then someone puts water on that, they'll make such a big, oh, you are such a fool. You do not know science of medicine, and you have actually aggravated the problem by pouring cold water onto that wound. But today's medical science says, if someone is actually pouring water on the wound, the fire wound, then they say you are the most intelligent fellow, you have done the correct thing. So now what was considered wrong in medical science in 10, 20 years back is today considered to be wrong, and then that is actually the correct method. So like this, these things going on. But we believe that is science up to the point it is proved wrong, or there is something better than this. Up to that point, we think this is perfect, Vijnanam. But in reality, this is okay for material science, because we all know anyway, okay, how does it matter? But perfect knowledge, or knowledge beyond the body, that means something which exists subtly. Right now, we are not having the ability to see, and we cannot see with our material advancements. Therefore, the only way to understand this is through the parampara system. That is the most important thing. Prabhupada again and again speaks. Whenever there is a discussion with the scientist will say, our process is to actually see it or physically experience it. And Prabhupada says, spiritual knowledge, the scientific process is to accept it through the disciplic succession, period. And that is the science. See, therefore, if a material scientist is thinking in terms of what is established in his way of thinking, that, for me to see, touch, experience, then I can actually, experience means physically experience, not, experience in a different way. Then they say this is actually scientific, their definition of way. But the same definition is there that, from a spiritual perspective, that process or that science definition is considered to be what is taken as it is in the parampara system. That is perfect science. That is the definition of science in spiritual context. So there is no conflict. But then if you are going to narrow it, see it in a very narrow way, then the material scientist will not be able to get to this other side of the knowledge at all. They will be restricted because there is a big wall that you can't get out of this material world. It is said, right? You can go in your, Prabhupada says, in your Sputnik to how many ever planets you go. But the spiritual world is beyond all of this creation. Therefore, all these trillions of stars I talked about, it is beyond all of this. To get to one star itself, Mars, we are thinking it's a big achievement. We say we went to moon and we say it's a big achievement. Forget it. Yeah, we are talking about trillions and billions of stars. When can you actually look at all these things? No, we will do it tomorrow. This is the scientist thing. Trillions and billions of stars. Do you really understand what you are talking? And you have to not just go there, but overall understand what is all these things. And beyond all this is this material, spiritual world, and how to get there. That knowledge is available only through the parampara system. So I want to stress on this point, of this parampara system. And this is what Sankhya philosophy is all about, that taking this knowledge in the perfect knowledge, not any knowledge, perfect knowledge through the parampara system. And that will give you what? Liberation. What we are struggling for trillions of years by taking birth again and again and again, we can finish it off in this one life, be done with it once and for all. But such a beautiful boon, such a fortunate, I don't know, the chance of this happening, if you have to put permutation and combination, maybe one in few trillions of it. But here we have a chance, wonderful chance. We are just 500 years away from Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's appearance time. And that science, what he has given, is so very pure, not contaminated. We can count the number of acharyas from Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. It's not like, 10,000 acharyas have come down. This science is freshly baked. It is available for us. Freshly baked means not a new concoction, but that same matter what Lord Krishna spoke to Vivaswan, Manu, all of these from this parampara, whatever it came, that same science which came 5,000 years back to Arjuna, it has come to us 500 years back from Lord Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And that information in only few 10, 20 acharyas, from Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. It is not concocted. It is not got lost. Krishna says, right? It may get lost in course of time. We have nowhere near that period of getting lost. We are very much fresh. And these acharyas whom we are now following are perfect in their application. We have seen, if you have to study the life and activities of the acharyas, starting from our Srila Prabhupada, and if we are initiated, our own spiritual master, we all know how amazing they are, just sticking to Srila Prabhupada's lotus feet. But then going back to Prabhupada, we know how perfect he was in following his acharya, and there's no question of doubting Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati, that system to the Goswamis and to the Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, so very fresh and so very perfect. That is the science. And therefore, if we simply are able to accept this knowledge, then we are back to Godhead. In this context, I thought we have another 10 minutes. Understand how some of the people have actually achieved this. I will quote a few pastimes from Sri Ramanujacharya's life pastimes. So there was this one lady called Kundi, I think her name was called Kundi. She was a simple, milkmaid kind of thing. Milkmaid, she used to give milk to the people. Buttermilk, right? So she will give buttermilk. Now she used to sell this. She's a very old lady. So once upon a time, Ramanujacharya was camping in a particular place, and he was actually expounding on one particular scripture to all his disciples. So he was giving class every day. He was giving class in that place, in that camp, and many devotees, his disciples, were all hearing that from him. And this lady was a very, buttermilk vendor, how intelligent she is or whatever. But she was also always there. She comes there and then she sits there and listens to this class by Sri Ramanujacharya. How much she understood, nobody knows. But she was listening. She was very eager to listen. And then she used to give buttermilk to all the disciples there. Like this was going on. So he was there for a month or whatever period of time Ramanujacharya was there. And they were all getting the service of this buttermilk from her. And then when they were all leaving this place, one of the disciples remembered, we have to pay this lady. We have been taking buttermilk from her for a long time. So we need to pay her. So they run to her and say, hey, Amma, how much, we have taken for 1 month, 20 of us or 30 of us, whatever. So how much is the cost for the buttermilk that you gave us? She said, no, I don't want any monetary benefits from you. I did this as a service, like that. But then they say, no, you should take something. He says, actually, uh, I don't want any money, but I want a letter from Ramanujacharya. I want actually to meet Ramanujacharya, and I want to ask for mukti. She says, I want to meet him and ask for mukti. Then these boys come and tell Ramanujacharya, like, we met this old lady. She's been hearing this your classes for some time. Now she's saying she wants to get mukti. And they are thinking, what is this lady? We are all renounced our life. We are studying this Vedic scriptures. This is so much there to study, and we are studying this under Ramanujacharya. Going to spend a lifetime to understand all these things. And this lady, having heard this class for a month or so, and now she's saying, I want to get mukti, and I want to meet Ramanujacharya. They are thinking like this, and they are going to Ramanujacharya, and Ramanujacharya is surprised. Oh, how come that this lady is saying that she wants mukti? Just hearing. Then he says, bring that lady to me. So this lady is brought in front of Ramanujacharya, and Ramanujacharya asks her, so what is it that you want? She says, I want mukti. But he says, no, I cannot give you mukti. I'm a simple man. I am just giving some classes on philosophy. I'm helping people to understand philosophy. Therefore, how can I give you mukti? I am not Lord. Then she says, no, you are an acharya, and only through you I can get mukti. Nobody else can give me mukti. She says, like this very strongly, she says, you are an acharya, and this knowledge, or the ability to get this mukti here, in this verse we are talking about, Kapila Muni giving that thing which will remove us from all the material entanglement and give us liberation. So she's saying, only from you I can get it. There is no other way available in this material world. Ramanujacharya was very happy, and he was surprised, but he was happy. She has understood the core of the philosophy of parampara system of the spiritual life. Then he says, but then he wants to his pastime, he wants to play further into this, and he says, how can I go? You go to Balaji, in Tirupati. You go to Balaji and ask him for mukti. Only Balaji can give mukti. Nobody can give mukti. We know this, right? Only Krishna can give liberation. Nobody else can. No, not even Brahma can give liberation. Nobody can give liberation. So he says that only go to Balaji, only he can give you liberation. She says, no, she understands. Yes, she is not refuting that. She says, yes, Balaji can give me liberation, but I am nobody for Balaji to get, that I go and ask him, he gives me like this. Not possible at all. Since you are saying I should go to Balaji, I will go to Balaji, but you please give me a recommendation letter. Such amazing, intelligent lady. She says, you give me an introduction letter, or, give me a recommendation letter written in your own hands. Then I will go to Balaji and ask for mukti. Then he writes, everybody's seeing, what is this? It's like going for a job or something. Even today, all that is not allowed, right? You have to face your interview, you have to do whatever. But how come, you see Ramanujacharya also playing along with her, he's taking a piece of paper, writing there, oh, my dear Lord, Supreme Personality of Godhead, Venkatesha Balaji, I am sending this Kondi lady to you. Please give her liberation. He writes and signs on that paper. So everybody is thinking, what is this? How can all these things be possible? So she is very happy. She takes that letter, and then, she goes into the temple, and then the priest, he goes and gives this to the priest and says, this letter has to be given to Balaji. The priest said, what is this? You can't come and give a letter and say, you give it to Balaji. What is this? But then she says, no, Ramanujacharya has given this letter, and he asked this to be given to the priest and to the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Venkatesha Balaji, standing there. Then how come Ramanuja has given a letter? How can we not obey? Because Ramanujacharya, we know Tirupati, he's the one who's the one who literally did so many activities and brought Tirupati to what it is, today to a great extent. So then they were obliged to follow the instructions of Ramanujacharya, and they give that letter to Venkatesha Balaji and says, Ramanujacharya has given this letter. Lord Balaji extends his hands and picks that letter. Just imagine. He extends his hands and picks that letter, and he reads. And then he says, okay, he's asked me to give you liberation. If he has asked you to give liberation, then I have no second thoughts about it. And then he immediately, there's a Vimana which comes in a swan kind, like a Vimana comes, and then this lady is immediately sent back to the spiritual world. So this is how powerful the parampara system is. The Acharya's words. This is nothing got to do with your speculative understandings. What is this Kondi? Like she's simply a vendor, right? Has no material knowledge, has nothing. But she had the faith in the Acharya. That is the only thing which is most important. And she completely believed. And while other so many learned students were trying to understand from the jnana, but not the vijnana. That vijnana is how to actually take this knowledge in the parampara system, accept it without any deviation, accept it without any mental concoction, accept it without adding some salt, some pepper into that. No, simply repeat what the Acharya says. And then there is purity in that matter. And then the Lord, it becomes a direct connection to the Supreme Personality of Godhead. We can go back to Godhead just like that. So this is the science of actually understanding pure spiritual knowledge. And Kapila Muni also, Kapila Dev actually came to establish the same process, that we can actually go back to Godhead. And this is Lord himself, Kapila Dev, Lord himself coming, that mark of lotus in his feet, clearly mentioned by Lord Brahma himself. So this authority is there. So if you are able to follow that principle, then we are the same way. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, the Supreme Personality of Godhead himself, we have his lotus feet in many places, including in Sri Rangam, very close to us. You can go and see the lotus feet, the footprint of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu there with all the lotus, all the ingredients which identify a person as the Supreme Personality of Godhead. It is there in that place. So all we need to do is surrender to that Supreme Lotus feet and follow the Acharya's instructions. Then we are back to Godhead. I will end here. If there are any questions, any comments, we can take. This is just one small example. There are hundreds of examples how even in Ramanujacharya's life story, there are many. How if you are able to actually take up the mission of the Supreme, of our spiritual master in our head, and be just attached to the spiritual master, then we can actually go back to Godhead. There are many such wonderful pastimes. I can maybe in a minute I can explain one more. There was a time when Ramanujacharya was poisoned, right? He was making many administrative corrections in the temple of Sri Rangam, because of which many priests who are who are feeling that Ramanujacharya is actually cutting their lines for doing criminal activities in the temple funds and all that. So they were very angry, and they became so angry to the extent that they wanted to kill Ramanujacharya. So they gave poison. Once they gave poison, Ramanujacharya had it, but nothing happened to him. But they did not realize that he is such a personality, that not an ordinary material personality, but still they tried to kill him in different ways, and they colluded to do so many very sinful activities against Ramanujacharya. So when Ramanujacharya came to know, okay, they are trying to kill me by giving poison, he said, I will not take Bhiksha anymore. Because in the Bhiksha only Bhiksha means you go on alms, right? You go and ask for Bhagavati Bhiksham Dehi, and then they give, that householder gives you some prasadam which you eat. That is how they lived at that point. So he said, I will not take Bhiksha, and he went away to another nearby place. I think Tiruvallarai. He went to Tiruvallarai and he was there. And then when one of his gurus, when he came to know that Ramanujacharya is not taking Bhiksha, and then all these things happened, then he was worried also. How come Ramanujacharya is most important? Then how can things be facilitated for him? So he comes all the way trying to understand the whole thing and try to solve this problem. He comes to Tiruvallarai to meet Ramanujacharya. When he comes there, Ramanujacharya, the etiquette is when you see the spiritual master, you bow down and then you pay full obeisances onto the spiritual master. You lay flat on the ground. It was hot summer at that time. When he says the spiritual master coming, he immediately, Ramanujacharya falls down and pays Dandavat Pranam. He does that. When he's doing that, it is so hot, and the spiritual master is actually, and it's not like, no, I just bend down and then get up. No. The etiquette is, till the spiritual master says you get up, you cannot get up. Right? So he's just lying down there, and the spiritual master is not telling you get up. And it is so hot and it is like burning. You can understand the heat in places like Srirangam. It will be so hot. So, and he's lying and his body is like, because of the heat, there's so much discomfort to Ramanujacharya. So everybody is seeing, and the spiritual master is just standing there, not asking Ramanujacharya to get up. And then one disciple, he is not able to tolerate his spiritual master, that is Ramanujacharya's disciple. He sees that, my spiritual master is lying down like this, and it is so hot, and his spiritual master is not asking him to stand up. Now, how can I save my spiritual master? Then he immediately goes down, lies down on the ground, and then he puts Ramanujacharya on his back. So both are lying one above the other like that. Then his Ramanujacharya spiritual master says, now you get up. Then he says, I actually came to see who I can actually give responsibility to protect Ramanujacharya from all this poisoning and all that. Someone who will be very careful, who is trustable, who is dependable, who can be such a person. And therefore, now this is the test. So I put Ramanujacharya in that situation that he's struggling in that heat. And I was trying to understand who of his disciples will really be so much attached to him that, they will do something about it. And I find this gentleman to be very much attached to the lotus feet of his spiritual master. And therefore, now I entrust him the responsibility of securing Ramanujacharya's life. So he will take care of, whatever bhikshu comes, then he will test it, do whatever is necessary. But Ramanujacharya is protected. So the point about disciplic succession, and once someone is able to think at that level of focus on the spiritual master's lotus feet, then we are guaranteed about liberation. Prabhupada says, right, you all hold my dhoti and come. I have the key to the back door of the spiritual world. So all we need to do is follow what Prabhupada's instructions are, then we can go back to Godhead. I end here. I'm sorry I took 4 more minutes. If there are any questions, comments, welcome. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna Prabhu. Thank you so much for the wonderful class.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna Prabhu. It was a wonderful class. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Nice meeting you. Okay, so if there are no specific questions or comments, we can maybe end the session if that is okay.
Thank you, Prabhuji, for the wonderful session today.
Thank
you spoke so many detailed about Ramanujacharya. Thank you, Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna. Thank you.
Dandavat Pranam Prabhu. Thank you so much.
Hare Krishna. Okay, so I will take your leave. Thank you all very much.
Hare Krishna. Thank you.